morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. It's a darn good thing you're able to read the title so I don't have to explain what this video is about. Here are some cool facts about every Pokemon protagonist, in the core series at least. My apologies to all Lucy Fleetfoot fans from Pokemon Troze. Naturally, we have to start with the one who started it all, Red. One of the most alluring parts of Red's charming personality is how strongly silent he is, which is why many people freaked out a couple years ago when Red seemingly uttered his first words in Pokemon Masters EX. But the truth is, Red has actually spoken a handful of times throughout Pokemon's history. The first time is a bit ambiguous as it happens when you speak to the copycat in Saffron City, where she states, "Hi, do you like Pokemon?" No, I just asked you." "Huh? You're strange." This seemingly implies that Red is the one initiating the question and Copycat is repeating it back to him. The second time is, funnily enough, a weird translation goof. In the Spanish version of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, anytime a trainer uses an item, the trainer actually says, "I'm going to use insert item here," instead of the usual "trainer used a potion," or whatever it is. And since Red uses full restores during his battle on Mount Silver, this means that Red speaks during the battle. In Spanish, but it's better than nothing. In Pokemon Masters EX, Red speaks in 3 different scenarios. The first is during his Sync Pair story after you first teamed up with him, where he tells Flint words are unnecessary when explaining his bond with Charizard. He speaks once again in the final chapter of the Pokemon Masters League arc, where during the finals he tells the player, "I accept your challenge," and afterwards says, "Congratulations, you won." His thoughts are also heard just before the battle as he thinks, "Blue, Leaf, let's win this together." His final line of dialogue was during the Blazing Battle with Ash event, where upon seeing Ash win a tournament against many other trainers from Passio, Red states, "I'll be waiting." He also speaks quite a bit in the Super Smash Bros. Series where he's known as Pokemon Trainer, but I hesitate to include that. As for Red's female counterpart Leaf, her origins are extremely interesting. The first incarnation of her design appeared on the cover of the Pokemon Red and Green Strategy Guide from 1996. According to Ken Sugimori, who drew the cover art, he says that the female trainer was never intended to be a playable character. Rather, he just decided that he wanted to show a trio of trainers battling to go along with the 3 starter Pokemon. Illustrator Emiko Yoshino would then adapt the design in her cover art for Pokemon Craft DX, which was a Japanese exclusive magazine that would teach kids how to make Pokemon out of paper. From there, she would go on to become Green in the Pokemon Adventures manga, fittingly using Squirtle, who she was illustrated with in Ken Sugimori's initial artwork. Later in 2004, Sugimori stated that he did decide to use Green as a basis for Leaf, although at the time of her designing, she was not yet given an official name. Moving into Generation 2, and speaking of characters with multiple names, Ethan has had quite a few as well. According to the Gen 2 game manuals, in Pokemon Gold, his name is Gold. In Pokemon Silver, his name is Silver. And in Pokemon Crystal, his name is Chris, but spelled C-H-R-I-S, not K-R-I-S like his female counterpart. These manuals are actually Japanese exclusive, but we can determine the spelling based on the default name options given to you at the beginning of Pokemon Crystal. In the anime, he has a counterpart named Jimmy, who is actually given a different name during the Johto League conference arc, where Vincent refers to him as Yoshi. But Jimmy, Yoshi, regardless of his real name, he's technically not even Ethan. Because the real deal does show up in the intro of Zoroark Master of Illusions, and this is confirmed through the Japanese DVD art gallery, which refers to him as Hibiki, Ethan's Japanese name. And of course, in the manga, he is once again Gold, which is why the fanbase primarily called him that until Heart Gold and Soul Silver would finally assign him his true identity as Ethan. As for the real Chris being the first female protagonist and the first protagonist to be introduced mid-generation, there's actually an odd quirk where when you go into the Cable Club playing as Chris, your appearance will actually change to look like Ethan instead, since her sprites don't exist in Gold and Silver. Similar things occur in later generations. For instance, if you're playing as Ethan in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, then your friends battling against you in Platinum will see you as Lucas. But what makes this specific case different is that Chris changes to Ethan on your own screen, making it the only time your player could completely change to another. And this still happens even if both players have Pokemon Crystal version. Ethan is just the default sprite used for all scenarios. Lyra, meanwhile, is the first protagonist to outright replace a previous protagonist, but the Pokemon Adventures manga actually does something quite clever to preserve the canon. Basically amalgamating Chris and Lyra into one character named Crystal. Rather than replacing Crystal with a new character when the Heart Gold and Soul Silver chapter started releasing, instead Crystal simply begins wearing Lyra's clothes, due to her mother forcing her against her will. which I feel like would have just been the logical solution to begin with, but what do I know? In the anime though, Lyra has the distinction of being the only female protagonist that is shown to have won a gym badge, or in her case, 2. Brendan is another protagonist that faces somewhat of an identity crisis, as promotional material frequently has him flipping back and forth between the names Brendan and Landon, because land and sea. Haha, Hoenn, right? Get it? Anyway, in the Pokemon trading figure game, yeah, that was a thing, you better believe it, Brendan has 3 different figures with 3 different names. The first figure is named Brendan, but oddly is colored blue instead of using his normal color palette, which was reserved for the second figure, once again named Landon. And finally, the third figure, using his emerald appearance, is named Sean, once again playing with the land and sea motif. In the anime, May is one of, if not the most successful of Ash's companions, winning more ribbons on screen than anybody else, and she has won a contest in every region where she has competed. Unfortunately, May and her little brother Max were the only companions to never reunite with Ash during his final stint in Pokemon Journeys, being relegated to simple flashbacks and cameo appearances. This, unfortunately, is most likely the May's Japanese voice actress retiring from voice acting due to illness in 2012. With a replacement actress never being cast, May was sadly never able to make a fully fledged return following the Diamond and Pearl series. As a bonus fact for both Brendan and May, if they are selected as the player character, then they originally came from Olivine City in Johto, as confirmed by Norman in Black 2 and White 2, where he states during the World Tournament, "I moved from Olivine City to Petalburg City and became stronger." I may not be able to help you become stronger, but I can help you learn more about Pokemon. Just hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop for more great videos. It's free and it makes me feel good, so why not? In Pokemon Masters, Lucas is one of the few player characters to outright be confirmed to not be a player character. Yeah, this version of Lucas is actually Professor Rowan's assistant, which only occurs when Dawn is chosen as the playable character. However, he oddly does possess an Infernape in some NPC battles, which is strong against Dawn's Torterra and weak to Barry's Empoleon, so the trio doesn't quite make sense. As he pairs up with Dialga, he's one of only 2 protagonists whose default partner Pokemon is a legendary, with Gloria being the other who has Zacian. Dawn is tied with Lucas as the youngest protagonist with a confirmed age at 10 years old. She is also the shortest protagonist in the series at 4 foot 6 inches, or 137 centimeters for my international audience, and she is also the lightest at 75 pounds, or 34 kilograms. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl also include a neat Easter egg, where after you enter the Hall of Fame 10 times, you can battle against Dawn in Sandgem Town, where she'll use a fully evolved version of her anime team, only replacing Pachirisu with Bellossom. But you will only get this reference if your starter Pokemon was Turtwig. If you chose Piplup or Chimchar, she'll have completely different teams. Until Akari and Ray came along, Hilda and Hilbert were the oldest confirmed Pokemon protagonists at 14 years old, though originally they were designed to be 16, which I suppose would be their ages anyway in Black 2 and White 2. Speaking of those games, although Hilbert and Hilda do not appear, they originally were meant to be battled in the Pokemon World Tournament, as there's still leftover dialogue in the game's coding. Unlike the Memory Link feature, which changes their names to whatever you name them in Black and White, here their names are hard-coded as Hilda and Hilbert, so it's possible this wasn't connected to the Memory Link in any way. Nate is a tale of 2 protagonists in his many incarnations. In Pokemon Masters, he's a relatively underpowered unit that uses Braviary of all things, instead of a starter Pokemon or legendary like every other protagonist not named Callum. But in the manga, Nate, or Blake as he's called there, is an undercover agent of the International Police who owns several mythical Pokemon, including Genesect, Keldeo, and for a short time, Victini. Rosa is pretty much the opposite. In Pokemon Masters, she's practically the mascot of the entire game, and is formed to sync pair with 4 different Pokemon including Serperior, Delibird, Shaman, and Duat. Meanwhile, in Adventure, she's actually an X-Team Plasma Grunt of all things. Callum is the only character in Pokemon X and Y who can possess the title of Grand Duke once all trainers in the Battle Chateau have been defeated. This is because the only other trainer of that rank is Diantha, who is a Grand Duchess. So unfortunately for Serena, she cannot be the only one. But Serena does get the last laugh as she is confirmed to be the canon Kalos protagonist in Pokemon Masters EX, and currently has not 1, but 2 Master Fair sync pairs formed with her Greninja and Zygarde. All of Serena's counterparts are notable for their focus on clothing and fashion, as she sports 4 different appearances in Pokemon Masters, is the only character to permanently change looks during her arc of the anime, and her manga counterpart Y does the same thing with her hair. Once again deferring to Pokemon Masters for Elio and Celine, they actually both canonically do the thing where they just zone out and stare at people for uncomfortably long amounts of time, referencing their lack of facial animations in Sun and Moon, which I have to admit is a hilarious way of addressing a problem. Another detail that's quite funny is that Celine has no clue that Professor Kukui is the Masked Royal, but Elio does, although he just pretends that he doesn't. Chase and Elaine. I got nothing, sorry. In the initial trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield, the number on Victor's jersey was 227, a reference to Pokemon Day, which is February 27th, which also happened to be the day that Sword and Shield was revealed on in 2019. In Pokemon Evolutions, when Victor fights Leon, the number on his jersey is 25, referencing the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. And in the manga, his jersey number is 808, which references August 8th when the Pokemon Adventures manga first released in Japan. Gloria and Zacian were the first sync pair based on Protagonist that not only included a legendary, but were also available for a limited time. At least when not counting alternate outfits. She is confirmed to be the protagonist of the Galar region games here, as she not only possesses Zacian, but her and Hop also reference the events of the Darkest Day and fighting against Eternatus. Ray and Akari. I was kinda debating to even put these two in the video, since for all we know, the ones we play as could just be Dawn and Lucas, but I'd probably get more blowback for not including them, so hey, here we are. Anyway, as of making this video, Ray and Akari are the only protagonists in Pokemon with some degree of voice acting. A very slight degree of voice acting, mostly just grunts and breathing. I tried to make this one more interesting by looking up their voice actors so I could possibly be like, hey guys, did you know that Akari and Jotaro are voiced by the same person? But the truth is, it looks like these are the only roles these voice actors have ever had, so oh well. And lastly, Florian and Juliana. Yes, they have names. I was equally surprised to find this out. They are the first protagonists where full customization is enabled from the very beginning of the game. And as such, unlike other protagonists, some of their features differ between pieces of official artwork. For instance, in some pieces, Florian is portrayed with black hair instead of the usual brown, and Juliana can be seen with blue eyes in the artwork for the Teal Mask DLC. And that'll do it for today's video. Be sure to check out some of the other fact videos if you want to learn more, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more videos just like this one. I'll see you guys next time.